I've always liked the mod rod casting by Hot Wheels. There's things about it that I also absolutely hate. The wheels, the engine just isn't right. But the overall shape I like of it, the trunk on the back cracks me up. So I've done one of these before. I did it for the Battle of the Blades build with Funky over at Scale Street Garage. Geez, almost a year and a half ago or so, something like that. But I wanted to put some big, you-know-what tires on this thing. And that trunk in the back always just seemed kind of goofy to me. So I thought, well, let me cut that thing down. And the X-Acto saw that you see there, yeah, you see me drifting away from the jeweler's saw. And part of the reason is I can get straighter cuts and cut more quickly with this X-Acto saw than I can the jeweler's saw. The jeweler's saw, absolutely you need one. And I end up using it to cut part of the plastic on this one, oddly enough, because I couldn't get in there in another way. But for this cut, it's out in the open, basically, so to speak. So I cut that trunk down to size. And there you can see, I also use the Dremel tool with the drum sander part to round those out. And there you see the resin printed wheels. I did those from Lee Perry Designs. Those still blow me away that they're free. He basically gives away these wheel designs, and all you have to do is print them. That's also black resin that I use, black water washable resin. And I end up not even painting the tire part. I just really like the look of that black resin. It has a rubber look to it. So then I wanted to do an engine swap on here. Those engines are actually two different sizes. I printed them, I scaled them up different ways, and they're from a designer called People Who Like Diecast Custom. Did that design of the engine. And so, it's for the mod rod. It's a beautiful design. And so printed those out, figured out which one fit for the look I wanted. I did not want to enlarge the opening on the hood. And so picked what I liked best and went from there. There you kind of see where we're going on this. At this point, I've got that back cut down, and I just need to smooth it out, get rid of the buckles that are on there, get rid of the design that makes it look like a storage trunk, in effect. And just smooth it all out. I'm going to stick some taillights on that later. But just needed to file the heck out of this to smooth it out. Now you probably saw in the thumbnail, I'm calling this car J-Lo Moon. You probably figured out the J-Lo part now, huh? This thing's gonna have a really big back end on it. I like how beefy these tires are. The Lee Perry designs are interesting. Not only are they scalable, but you can determine how far in you want the wheels recessed into the tires and that kind of thing. There you see it all smoothed out. I got the trunk all smoothed out, got the casting cleaned up pretty well at that point. Just needed a little bit more wet sanding. There were a few small rough areas still, but there you see I've primered it at that point. I still have the original engine in there, just fitting the pieces together to see how the tires look. You can just tell they're a lot beefier than those narrow tires that Hot Wheels puts on there originally. The original Hot Wheels are okay, but you put something like this on there and you realize just how pathetic those original tires are. So now these, there isn't a really good way to do these. I did cut up some little brass spacers for the front, and because of the structure of the front end on the mod rod, I needed a little bit more space. because the wheels themselves don't have that built-in spacer that the Hot Wheels wheels did. And then you just, crazy glue them in, CA glue them in. Here was the part that I wasn't quite sure how I was going to glue this to the base. I did not want to glue it to the inside of the casting. I wanted to glue it to the base. And so what I did, you see here, I just tacked the front of the engine centered. Make sure I have it where I want it. Once that's dead on in place and hardened up, then I go in and I add some CA glue to it, to the back side of it. And I'll show you that here in a second. But yeah, that's such a better looking engine than that thing that Hot Wheels puts in there. I'm sure they had a reason for that, but they could have done so much better with seemingly so little effort. So there I have it all, CA glued in place. I thought about painting this separately, painting the engine separately from the base, that it might be easier to do. And then I thought, nah, I'm going to screw it up if I do that. So I went ahead and glued it to the base, and painting it worked out okay. You're able to get under the headers on there without any real problem. I almost cut those wings off, and I didn't. But here you see me cutting off the front radiator section because I still needed that on the front end. And I do need the interior section. All I need to cut out is that engine that comes on there. I did not do any detail on the inside because the glass on this, and no, I did not gauzy the glass, don't get upset. There you see the jeweler saw, because I had to get behind the headers to cut that engine out, so that's the reason for that. But I did not paint any detail on the inside. The glass on this is a dark smoked color. Some other mod rods have a light color, and I do have one of those. I considered swapping out the glass, but I like the dark overall look of this glass. And you'll see, well, you see there, I painted the casting a gloss black. And yep, I made up a decal for this. I made up some moon eyes. And I properly have the moon eyes facing the same direction. So both sides are looking towards the back tires at those big J-Lo rear end on this thing. Those googly eyes are looking at the rear end. But yeah, it's interesting how the eyes sometimes opposite sides are facing off it. I hope that makes sense, opposite directions. I had a couple of those little sequin things, and so those are going to be my taillights. Hit them with the Tamiya red clear. But and then micro crystal clear is how I attach them to the body. I could put a couple little dots on what used to be the trunk area, and then I used that to hold those taillights on. I do clear coat over them in addition to the decals and everything else. It does get a clear coat on the body. I paint in the headlights here, and then it gets a clear coat. But yeah, I saw something on the Moon website that said the eyes both sides should either face forward or face rearward. So it's like both of these on this car are facing rearward, if that makes sense. And it's surprising how many you see that are opposite of that. It's like on one side they're facing forward, and on the other side they're facing backward. It's like the same decal is used on both sides rather than a mirrored decal. There you see the engine after some of the detail, and I painted the little tank on the front. But I went with white headers to pick up the white decal and white wheels. I ended up painting the wheels on this white as well. Went over the intake on this with the chrome Molotow. It's weird. It's like you see a lot of the engine and you don't see a lot of the engine, if that makes any sense. It's interesting what you see of the engine through that hood. There's a better look at where it ended up. And then I did paint the radiator black. I painted the areas that cover the front axle, the sides of that radiator cover, black as well. And left the rest of it chrome. I thought that would pick up on the intake as well. Considered chrome wheels, and I don't know, looking back on it, I'm happy I went with white wheels. Those are just super glued in place, the axles. I also considered, since there is no yellow on this casting, none of the yellow from Moon, I considered putting a set of yellow wheels on here. Decided against that. Thought about a yellow ring around the a yellow edge to the wheels themselves. Decided against that. So yeah, there's no yellow on here. Here I already have the glass in the casting as I'm assembling it here. It helps if you put it the right direction. Yeah, I did. Like I said before, I did not gauzy the glass. Very little of the glass shows. It's a new casting, so it was pretty good. And that glass is a snug fit in there anyway. So there you kind of get your first look at the completed car. Now it makes sense why it's the J-Lo Moon is the name of the car. Yeah, I couldn't resist. You know, I thought about calling it the Kardashian, and I thought about calling it the Chloe Moon or something like that, and decided against that. I thought the J-Lo Moon had a good sound to it. It's not really a roller because of the resin wheels. They do turn, but you know, the resin printed wheels, they're not like real riders, but I do think they have a really good look to them. I hope you do too. Here's where it started. And you know, I mean, you kind of like the look of this thing, but I don't know, it just seems the engine just screws it up. And the wheels aren't great either. I like the paint job though. Here's where it ended up. That's a Model Master black lacquer, gloss black lacquer. The decals were put on, the sequence for the brake lights were put on, and then that was a Minwax clear gloss polyurethane over it all. Again, the centers of the wheels are painted with the white. The black of the tires, that is actually the raw resin. So I hope you like this build. I'm pretty darn happy with it. I think the engine makes a huge improvement. And there's some glamour shots coming up. Again, hope you like this build. Thanks for watching the video. If you like it, give it a like. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. And also I want to say thanks to my Patreon members for all of their support. And everybody, stay safe and healthy out there. Catch you in the next one.